Hey YouTube, this your man Rio855, and yes, I'm coming with another video. This is actually the New Jack Swing era. Yes, I came last time with Bobby Brown and the New Jack Swing era part 1 and 2. So this is actually the New Jack Swing era part 1. Yeah, I gave you a little history and a little insight on Bobby Brown, New Jack Swing era, My Prerogative. That song opened the floodgates for the New Jack Swing era. Yeah, so I'm gonna give you a little insight on the New Jack Swing era and what it was all about in the times and how it influenced pop culture back then. So we're going back 30 years in the New Jack Swing era. 30 years. Yeah. So I'm just gonna give a little intro, but not on nobody in particular, just what the New Jack Swing era meant to me. 30 years ago, I say 31, 87, it kind of broke through, but let me just concentrate on the year 88. Our New Jack Swing era was on and popping. We was missed into the crack era, the gang era. It was real dangerous. You know, some cities, and I'm not talking about New York or just LA. It was Midwest cities averaging 200 murders a year. Gang violence, drug violence. Yeah, the drug game was on and popping. Crack took a hold of the black community and crossed over. The whites was buying it, so people was making a lot of money. So gang violence amped up because it was a war out there. But in the midst of all that, the music always has an influence on the culture. 88 was an important year for the music, whether it was rap, hip hop that broke through. Then you had house music and the New Jack Swing music. The New Jack Swing music was very important, and it had a lot of effect on the positive pop culture, R&B culture, hip hop culture. It was amazing. Yeah, and I had an amazing time during those years. And it took over. New Jack Swing took over. And the man responsible for the New Jack Swing era is my man Teddy Riley. Yes, my man Teddy Riley. If you all don't know Teddy Riley, I'm gonna give you a little info on Teddy Riley. Teddy Riley, born Edward Teddy Riley, or Edward Theodore Riley. He was born in Harlem, New York, October 8, 1950. So my man got a birthday coming up. Now I'm sorry, October the 8th, 1967. He is 50 years old, so I'm sorry about that. I don't want to say my man is 70 years old or near 70. So yeah. Early life, Teddy Riley was born in Harlem, New York, St. Nicholas Projects. Yeah, he was a child prodigy. From the age of 5 to 14. 14, he broke through. And yes, he had a short-lived group. At the time, I think he was at a club, his uncle, the Rooftop, where Teddy Riley would spend most of his time while growing up in upstate New York, began making music to the tracks. And under the guidance of local producer, the late Gene Griffin, Riley formed the short-lived group Kids at Work. the age of 17, Raleigh produced Kumo D's Go See the Doctor, that 12-inch. And it became a crossover hit, reaching number 89 in the Hot 100. That was good back then because rap was being dismissed. So you reach the top 100, it's basically crossing over. And then he had production credits in Dougie Fresh, Get Fresh Cruise, The Show, 1985. Yes. So Teddy Riley in 87 formed God. Aaron Hall and Damian Hall, short-lived Timmy Gatlin. Yeah, and Damian Hall, Aaron Hall's younger brother, replaced Damian Gatlin. So you look at the album, you'll see a guy that's Timmy Gatlin. I'm sorry. Yeah, and they formed God, managed by Gene Griffin. Yeah, God is the pioneer sound, the New Jack Swing. Teddy Riley as the producer. So in earlier hits, one of the first produced songs of the New Jack Swing era was I Want Her by Keith Sweat. And it reached top 5 pop, number 1 R&B. Huge hit from my man Keith Sweat. Took him off Wall Street and brought him stardom. His album Make It Last Forever would go on triple platinum. Huge success. And he was a new artist. Johnny Kemp, Just Got Paid was one of the second songs. Top 10 pop, number 1 R&B. And people started to notice. It hadn't had that breakthrough yet until late 1998 with My Prerogative by Bobby Brown. And that was the breakthrough because it went number 1 pop, number 1 R&B. And it broke through. And my man Teddy Riley got a lot of requests for production. A lot of great artists. And 89 would be his golden year for production. One in particular productions was Canada singer Jane Child, which only had this one hit, but it was a big hit, Don't Want to Fall in Love. It was a crossover smash success, but the remix was done by Teddy Riley. And like I stressed, remixes was big back then. They could be another album in its own and can make you a lot of extra income. So cats, like I said, when Bobby Brown had sold like 12 million albums, he had a remix album that would go platinum, double platinum. Hey, you can make a lot of money. And with Jane Child, Don't Want to Fall in Love, that remix was hot and it was very successful. So he produced rare acts like the Jacksons in 89, the Winans, James Ingram. He had Redhead Kingpin, if you don't know him, Uptown Cat, that had a hit, Do the Right Thing, Pump It Hottie. And Heavy D's album, Big Time. Big Time was heavily produced by Teddy Riley. The top 5 R&B hit, We Got Our Own Thing, was big for Heavy D. It really pushed his album into the mainstream and he went platinum. A lot of people started to notice him. And that was one of his best albums of his career. Personally, my favorite. Yeah. So he was having a lot of success. So I'm just gonna stay on 89 for a minute. Teddy Riley was just something different. The production sound of him was so loud, it was so rough and rugged. And at that time, you had to be rough and rugged because what was going on out there was rough and rugged. And you had, you know, the drum samplers, the 808 drum. Oh man, you can sample, you can make the production better. And sampling was it. Sampling was the key. That's what made the songs good in rap and New Jack Swing. Because you get those great samples, you can sample a song, just say James Brown or put Aretha Franklin's voice on something. You can get a hit, it just sounded good. Example was Mavis Staples, you know, I Take You There was that voice, or what she was saying, the ad-lib and the talking she was doing in that song. So many rappers put that on there. It sounds good. She can say all right, and it made a song. You know, really worked out for Big Daddy Kane. Yeah, speaking of Big Daddy Kane, he had a hit with I Get the Job Done, produced by Teddy Riley, and that was a huge success in 1989. In 1989, I went to a lot of hip-hop shows, and what was going on, it was a lot of great artists making a lot of great music, and the New Jack Swing era was right in depth with a lot of the great rappers. Teddy Riley, of course, had the group Wreckx-n-Effect, where he was in the group with his brother, and they had a minor hit with Wreckx-n-Effect, New Jack Swing song, the title. And you know, later on you will see more success from that group. And it was a time for Teddy Riley where everything was aligned, where he worked with Paul Abdul, whether he worked with like I say, people like James Ingram or I'll Be Sure, people like that. It just, he was out there. Yeah, and a lot of people started changing their production sound. You had Jam and Lewis, Terry Lewis and Jimmy Jam went to another style of production, because at that time they had a whole taking the Minneapolis sound to another level with Janet Jackson and a lot of great artists. But that sound was dying. Prince had left that sound, and we needed something new, something that would reflect the times, and something more rugged, something that would reflect what's going on in the crack era and all the gang violence, and New Jack Swing was it. So a lot of people wanted Teddy Riley to produce their song. Yeah, this was a great time. So, you know, Teddy Riley had, you know, a lot of groups that was definitive New Jack Swing, like today, that had a big hit with Girl I Got My Eye on You. It reached #1 on the R&B charts. Yeah, and Guy was having a great year from 88 to 89. They had a platinum album, and mostly New Jack Swing songs. Top 10 #1 R&B hits after #1 R&B hits, and it was just going on and on and on. Yeah. So this is just part 1. I'm gonna get it more in depth in part 2 with the artists that he worked with later on, and it'll be a lot of big artists. And you have the death of New Jack Swing too later on in the 90s. But in the 80s, 88, 89, he had it popping. He could do no wrong. And he had a lot of people dancing to the rhythm. So when those drug dealers, when they stopped selling drugs, they were go out to the club and have a lot of fun and kick it and dance to the New Jack Swing era, meet a girl, whatever they was doing. New Jack Swing was the soundtrack. So this music had a lot of influence on pop culture. And at that time, in 89, it was just the music that people wanted to listen to and dance to. Yeah. So in closing, this is part 1 of this is New Jack Swing era. We're gonna have more of Teddy Riley and a lot of host of other artists he worked with in part 2. So this is Rio 855. Subscribe to my channel, and peace, and God bless.